This story is titled, My Parents Tried to Guilt Me into Paying My Sister's $40,000 Debt After 12 Years of Independence, after 12 years of standing on my own 2 feet. My parents decided it was my job to pay off my sister's $40,000 debt. And when I said no, they actually sent a lawyer to try and force me into family loyalty. Hey everyone, I've been lurking here for a while but never thought I'd post. Honestly, I never imagined I'd be in a situation like this, but my family has officially pushed me past my breaking point. I really need to know if I'm losing my mind here, because no matter what I do, I keep getting painted as the villain. And I'm just exhausted. So here's what's been going on. I'm a 30-year-old guy. I've been living on my own since I was 18. And when I say on my own, I mean completely, financially, emotionally, every way you can think of. My parents? Let's just say they've never been winning any awards for parenting. They weren't the type to cheer you on or make you feel special growing up. Instead, there was this unspoken rule in our house that shaped everything. My little sister Emma could do no wrong, and I was expected to be the responsible one. If Emma messed up, and believe me, she screwed up a lot, it got swept under the rug. She's just sensitive, my mom would say. Or, she'll learn eventually, which was really code for, let's all pretend this never happened and hope for the best. Meanwhile, if I so much as stumbled, it was like the world was ending. Why aren't you trying harder? You need to set a better example for your sister. No matter what I achieved, it was never enough. I could bring home a report card full of A's, and they'd still ask why I didn't get an A+ in math. Emma, meanwhile, she'd barely pass her classes and they'd smile and say, "At least you're doing your best, sweetie." That dynamic didn't fade as we got older, it got worse. Emma stayed living with my parents well into her mid-20s, bouncing from one failed job to another, always armed with excuses for why nothing was ever her fault. Me? I was working 2 part-time jobs to put myself through college, scraping together rent and utilities every month, figuring out life as I went. My parents never offered to help, not that I expected them to, but it still stung to watch them bend over backwards for Emma while leaving me to fend for myself. Fast forward to 6 months ago. My mom called me out of the blue. Now, understand something. My mom doesn't call just to say hi. She doesn't check in to see how I'm doing or ask about my day. If she's calling, it's because she wants something. You know those calls that start with overly sweet small talk, like they're trying to butter you up before dropping the real reason? Yeah, it was one of those. "How's work?" she asked. "Still at that company? Are you eating well?" It was so out of character that I immediately knew something was up. For context, my mom doesn't even know what I do for work, just something with computers. And she sure as hell doesn't care how I eat. Then came the bombshell. Emma was in trouble. Shocker. Emma's always in trouble. But this was on another level. Apparently, she'd racked up $40,000 in debt. And it wasn't student loans or credit cards, oh no. She borrowed money from some seriously sketchy people, and now they were coming after her hard. My mom's voice cracked as though she was about to cry. I'm sure she thought it would pull at my heartstrings. "You've done so well for yourself," she said. "You've always been the strong one. Emma's not like you. She needs your help." I sat there in stunned silence. 40 grand? How does someone even manage to dig a hole that deep? I asked how Emma managed to get herself into this mess, half expecting some ridiculous excuse. "That doesn't matter right now," my mom said sharply. "What matters is that she's your sister. Family helps family." Ah, there it was. Their favorite line. I've heard that phrase my whole life. It's what they'd say every time they needed me to bail Emma out, cover for her, or clean up one of her disasters. And every time, I swallowed my frustration and went along with it, because I didn't want to be seen as the bad son. But this? $40,000? I couldn't do it. Not this time. So I told her no. "I'm sorry, but I can't bail Emma out of a mess she created." And just like that, my mom went from pitiful to furious in about 2 seconds flat. "You're being selfish," she yelled. "You're abandoning your family when they need you most." She even threw in, "Do you want her blood on your hands?" Like Emma's terrible decisions were somehow my fault. That's when I hung up. My hands were shaking, my chest tight, but I knew deep down I'd made the right call. I've worked too damn hard to let someone else's recklessness drag me down. But even after I hung up, the guilt crept in. My family has a way of twisting everything to make me feel like the bad guy. And this time was no different. Even though I said no, part of me couldn't help wondering, what if they're right? What if I am being selfish? But deep down, I know I'm not. And yet, something tells me this isn't over. What came next caught me completely off guard. And I'll be honest, it was just the beginning. Her face twisted into this ugly mix of rage and shame. Instead of backing down or apologizing, she doubled down. "Oh, you think you're so much better than me, don't you?" she snapped. "Just because you've got your fancy job and your dumb little house, you think you can sit there and judge me? Well, big brother, you wouldn't even be where you are if it weren't for Mom and Dad. They gave everything for us, and this is how you repay them?" I laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laugh that comes from anything funny. It was sharp, bitter, the kind that slips out when you're so furious and exhausted that you don't know whether to scream or cry. "Mom and Dad didn't sacrifice a damn thing for me," I said flatly. "I started paying rent the day I turned 18. I put myself through college. Every single sacrifice they made was for you, Emma. They handed you everything on a silver platter while I was left to figure it all out on my own. So don't you dare try to pull the family loyalty card on me." She didn't have a comeback for that. Or maybe she did, but she stayed quiet, just staring at me like I was the monster in all of this. I'd had enough. "You know what?" I said, stepping back toward the door. "I'm done. Done with you. Done with Mom and Dad. Done with this whole toxic circus you people call a family. You want to wreck your life? Fine. But you're not dragging me down with you." I walked out before she could say another word. On the drive home, I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. My chest felt like it was on fire, not just from anger, but from the deep, aching hurt of it all. How could my parents think this was okay? How could they justify encouraging her to do something this insane? When I got home, I sat at my kitchen table and made a list of everything I needed to do to protect myself. I called my bank to confirm my accounts were secure. I changed every single password I had. I even rang up a lawyer friend to ask what my options were if Emma tried to pull another stunt like this. He told me I could press charges if I wanted, but I wasn't ready to go that far. At least, not yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if there was something, anything, I could have said to make her understand. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't have mattered. Emma wasn't going to change, and as long as my parents kept enabling her, she'd never have to. I thought that would be the worst of it. I thought after everything, there was no way my family could sink any lower. I was wrong. About a week later, I heard a knock on my door. When I looked through the peephole, there they were, my parents, standing on my porch like they owned the place. No call, no text, just there. I thought about ignoring them. I really did. But I knew if I didn't open the door, they'd stand there ringing the bell until I gave in. The moment I cracked the door, my mom pushed past me like she had every right to barge in. Her face was flushed with anger. My dad followed behind her, quieter but clearly there to back her up. I shut the door, took a deep breath, and braced myself. "This has gone far enough," my mom barked, spinning around to face me. "We need to talk." I crossed my arms. "I think we've already said everything that needs saying." "No, we haven't," she shot back. "You need to stop this nonsense and help your sister. She's family. She's your responsibility." I stared at her, stunned. My responsibility? Emma's a grown adult. She got herself into this mess. I tried to keep my voice calm, though every nerve in my body was on edge. I'm not her parent, and I'm sure as hell not her ATM. My mom's face twisted in frustration. "Do you think we enjoy asking you for help? Do you think this is easy for us? This is about family loyalty. You don't just walk away when things get hard." I let out a bitter laugh. "You mean the loyalty you showed when you charged me rent at 18? Or when you made me pay for my own college while Emma got everything handed to her? Or when you kept bailing her out and expected me to clean up her messes?" I shook my head. "Yeah, no thanks." Finally, my dad spoke up. His voice was low and sharp. "Do you think raising 2 kids was easy? Do you think we didn't make sacrifices? We did the best we could. And now this is how you repay us." "Stop," I said, cutting him off. "Just stop. Every sacrifice you made? It was for Emma. Every single time something went wrong, you bent over backward for her, while I was left to fend for myself. And you know what? That's fine. I didn't need your help then, and I don't need it now. But don't you dare stand here and lecture me about loyalty. You've been enabling her toxic behavior for years, and I'm done being part of it." My mom's face went beet red. She was trembling with fury. "If you don't help her," she hissed, "you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. Do you want her blood on your hands? Do you want her living on the streets?" It was the same tired guilt trip she'd tried over the phone. My blood was boiling. "I'm not responsible for what happens to Emma," I said, my voice steady. "She made her choices. If she ends up on the streets, that's on her, and on you, for never teaching her how to take responsibility. My mom's whole body was shaking now. Fine, she spat. If this is the kind of person you want to be, don't expect us to be there for you when you need us. I laughed again, cold and hollow. I've never needed you, I said flatly. And after this? I never will. For a moment, the room was silent. My dad looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. My mom just glared at me, her chest rising and falling like she was about to explode. Then, without another word, she stormed out. My dad lingered for half a second, gave me one last look, some weird mix of disappointment and maybe regret, and then followed her out. When the door clicked shut behind them, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. I didn't care about their approval anymore, or their manipulative guilt trips, or their toxic idea of family loyalty. I was done. But of course, they weren't. The very next day, I got an email from my mom. It was long and rambling, full of guilt trips and emotional blackmail. She accused me of being ungrateful, of abandoning my family in their time of need, of breaking her heart. She even threatened to cut me out of their will, as if that was supposed to scare me into submission. I didn't reply. What was the point? Then Emma started up again, bombarding me with dramatic text about how she was losing everything and how it was all my fault. She said she'd had to sell her car, that she was behind on rent, and her creditors were harassing her. Honestly, I didn't feel bad. She dug her own hole. Now she could sit in it. And then came the kicker, a letter from a lawyer. My parents were threatening to sue me. They claimed I had a moral obligation to support Emma and that I'd irreparably harmed the family by refusing to help. I almost laughed out loud. I forwarded the letter to my own lawyer. He read it and told me it was complete garbage. They didn't have a leg to stand on and nothing would come of it. But still, the fact that they tried? That stung in a way I can't even describe. Yet, the fact that they even tried was enough for me. I was done with Emma, my parents, and the unhealthy family dynamic. I blocked their numbers, removed them from social media, and informed the few relatives I still interacted with that I didn't want to hear anything about my parents or Emma. The majority of them understood, but a few tried to persuade me to find a way to make peace, which I quickly rejected. Peace was impossible with folks who considered me as nothing more than a safety net for Emma's poor choices. Here's where I'm at right now. I'm miserable. Do you think it's usual for a family to go this far? Final update, hello again. I decided to post a last update once I worked everything out, so here we go. After throwing that lawyer's letter in the trash and mailing it to my lawyer just in case, I finally made a decision that had been weighing on me for years. I was going no contact, completely and permanently. I'd been holding out hope that my family would change, but the lawyer's stunt proved that they weren't going to stop. If anything, they were escalating their destructive behavior, and I wasn't going to allow them pull me deeper into their insanity. So I went into full block mode, blocking my mother, father, Emma, and everyone else's phone numbers and emails. Honestly, pushing the block button felt strangely satisfying. Then I went through my social media accounts and deleted them as well. There was no way I was leaving any doors open for them to sneak back in. I sent a fast text to the few family members I truly like, largely cousins, informing them that I was finished with the family drama and requesting them not to play messenger for anyone. Most of them were fine with it, but a handful hit me with the "but they're your family" guilt trip. My response is short and sweet. Being family doesn't mean you get to treat me like crap. The most difficult part was presenting the issue to a few mutual acquaintances who knew my parents. Some of them couldn't believe what I was saying, as if they couldn't believe that my parents and sister had attempted to steal from me, guilt me, and now sue me. One buddy even inquired, "Are you certain there isn't more to the story?" as if I had somehow overlooked the bit where this was entirely my fault. I felt terrible, but I let it go. The ones who mattered believed me, and that was enough. The first week of no communication was difficult, not because I missed them, but because they refused to let up easily. Despite having their numbers blocked, they found ways to get through. My mother began phoning from unknown numbers and leaving long dramatic voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart. She would say things like, "We just want to talk," or "You're punishing us for trying to do the right thing." It was exhausting. I didn't listen to the majority of the messages and deleted them as soon as I recognized who they were from. Then there came the letters. My parents must have gone directly from their lawyer's office to the post office, because the letters began arriving almost immediately. At first, they were basically rubbish, with my mother pinning pages upon pages about how much she sacrificed for me and how I broke her heart. My father also responded, albeit in a more direct manner. One of his letters read, If you don't help Emma, don't expect us to ever forgive you. Forgive me for what exactly? For not allowing my sister to steal from me? For not enabling her terrible choices? The sheer arrogance of it was almost comical. By the second week, their communications had gone entirely off track. My mother's letters were frantic and deranged, with vague threats such as, "You'll regret this one day," and "You'll be sorry when it's too late." It was all guilt and doom, like if she was trying to terrify me back in line. My father, however, did not hold back. His emails were caustic, accusing me of being selfish, ungrateful, and arrogant. He said that I had forgotten where I came from and was betraying the people who made you who you are. It wasn't simply guilt. It felt like they were attempting to break me down, as if they couldn't bear losing their hold on me. And then there was Emma, who wasted no time playing the victim. She sent me this long handwritten letter, most likely because she knew I had banned her emails, telling me how much I had hurt her and how she couldn't believe I would forsake her in her time of need. She wrote stuff like this: "You have always been my rock, and now you are simply leaving me to sink. I thought you cared about me, but obviously I was mistaken." I could not believe her audacity. She closed the letter by asking for money again, this time for a $5,000 loan to help her get back on her feet. She even offered to repay me as soon as circumstances were better. I laughed so hard I almost cried, as if I was going to fall for it after everything she had done. However, my mother went completely insane when she showed up to my office. Yes, she showed up to my workplace unexpectedly. She stormed into the lobby demanding to see me, and when the receptionist refused to move, she lost control. She began yelling loudly enough for the entire building to hear, calling me a terrible son, and screaming about how I was ruining the family. Security had to intervene and physically escort her out. I stood there, utterly frozen, witnessing the whole incident from the mezzanine. My coworkers didn't say anything, but their expressions were pure horror. I wished the dirt would swallow me entirely. That was it. I wasn't just angry. I was done. That night, I phoned a family law attorney, not the acquaintance I'd casually consulted before, but a true professional. I lay out everything: harassment, entitlement, and lunacy. She listened, asked a few pointed questions, and then told me exactly what to do. The next day, we created a cease and desist letter and sent it to everyone, including my mom, dad, Emma, and their lawyer. It was absolutely clear: contact me again, and I will take legal action, no exceptions. I didn't think they'd stop, but surprisingly, it worked. My mother's calls stopped, and the hateful letters were gone. Even Emma, the queen of guilt trips, went radio silence. 6 months after cutting ties, life is different. Quieter, lighter, and honestly, better. It wasn't easy, but putting myself first over my family's incessant chaos was the best decision I've ever made. Of course, not everyone understands, and a few relatives continue to use the same outdated line. But they're your family. Do you know what I say to that? Family is nothing if they don't respect you. Blood does not give someone the right to disrupt your calm. You do not owe somebody your time, money, or sanity simply because you share DNA. Boundaries are not harsh. They're necessary. Honestly, cutting them off was the best thing I've ever done. With the turmoil behind me, I pushed myself into work and finally received the promotion I had been wanting for years. Emma, from what I've heard, is still struggling. She works part-time and lives with a friend after losing her apartment. I don't feel bad about it anymore. She made her bed. My parents continue to share their story with anyone who will listen, but fewer people are buying it these days. It's liberating not to care. I've also started reconnecting with others I'd lost touch with, including a few cousins, and I've even opened up to someone I'm currently dating. They've been quite supportive, and for the first time, I feel as if I'm surrounded by people who genuinely respect me. To anyone dealing with a toxic family, I understand how difficult it is. But things get better. Cutting them off felt like ripping off a Band-Aid, but the peace that followed was well worth the anguish. You owe it to yourself to choose peace and yourself.